Remember that episode of The Simpsons where Homer ruined his brother's car business by designing a car that was so very strange? It bankrupted the company. You may be shocked to learn that very real car manufacturers have designed automobiles that are even more peculiar than the one Homer designed. Let's take a look at some of the oddest to ever hit the road, and don't forget to let us know which of them you think is the weirdest. These are the strangest cars ever made. Banana car. It's not going to be seen in the Fast and Furious movies anytime soon, but Steve Brathwaite's famous banana car is definitely something that you want to talk about. It's really something, and by really something, we mean it's shaped like a piece of fruit, and who among us hasn't thought about enjoying a ride on a speeding banana built from the engine of a 1993 Ford F-150 pickup? The banana car is a fully drivable 4x4 vehicle constructed by native Englishman Steve Braithwaite, who spent 8 years handcrafting his big metal banana man. That was a weird sentence. Braithwaite says he built the car because he wanted to be the most ridiculous man in the world, a label that would definitely suit the kind of guy who would build a car based on a piece of fruit. And while the vehicle does occasionally get pulled over by police officers who just want to get a closer look at it, it's completely legal and suitable for driving. It's banana. Sorry if you're wondering how Braithwaite makes money from these crazy ideas. He travels across America and offers rides to banana enthusiasts, which definitely sounds like a euphemism, but it's not. Steve has a big banana, and not only do people want to see it, they really want to take a ride on it. Like this video, smash the subscribe button and click the notification bell right now, or a slender man will come from under your bed when you're sleeping. Now it's time for the juicy topic. Those of you who live in the UK or don't but consider yourself an Anglophile might be aware of the infamous Bendy Bus. For those of you who aren't, the experimental buses could actually bend in the middle, making it far easier for a large vehicle to turn a tricky corner. While a few were in circulation for a while, the Bendy Bus never took off in a major way, but that didn't stop people with a little too much time and far too much money experimenting with the concept and taking it further. One such man was a billionaire and car enthusiast, Simon Maxwell, who decided to fund the development of a bendy limousine. While the development was a total success, the car isn't exactly road legal. Thankfully, he has a large enough estate that he can drive it around his own grounds. He continues to campaign for the right to drive this on public roads. Do you think such a vehicle should ever be allowed to careen around real cities? Comment down below with the hashtag juicy topic and let us know your opinion in relation to what we just showed on screen. With that said, let's keep things moving. Number 9. BMW. How to describe 1956 BMW Aceta? It's as if the Muppets time traveled to the 1950s and designed the car of the future. It's a teeny tiny, almost miniature car that seems virtually incapable of carrying people over a height of 4 feet. It was also hugely popular. Apparently people in the 1950s loved getting cramped. The Aceta is a futuristic looking bubble car that looks kind of weird to us now, but in the 1950s this was basically viewed as a style icon. When the Aceta was introduced in 1953, the press went nuts for the little guy, measuring 7.5 feet in length and 4.5 feet in width. The car somehow managed to contain enough space for comfort, an accomplishment that almost seemed impossible to the Italian journalists covering it, who quickly believed they were seeing the future of transport. Just 2 years later, in 1955, the Aceta became the first mass-produced car in the world to achieve a fuel consumption of 78 miles to the gallon, a record that undoubtedly helped make it the top-selling single-cylinder car in the world. Yes, this egg car sold out worldwide. The BMW has ceased production in 1962, but the vehicle continued to be built under license around the world, making the tiny car a huge success. People. Number 8. Cadillac Cyclone XP74 concept. Picture this: you're sitting at the inaugural Daytona 500 enjoying the racing when suddenly the unimaginable happens. A spaceship drives onto the track, except it's not a spaceship but a car, specifically the Cadillac Cyclone XP74 concept. Okay, It would have been more interesting with a spaceship, but I have to work with what I have. In 1959, Harley Earl and Bill Mitchell designed what they believed would be the future of cars, a NASA-style futuristic vehicle that could easily be mistaken for something from the Jetsons, complete with bubble top coated in a material that would deflect the sun's rays, naturally automatic sliding doors, winged spoilers, and two exhausts that looked like a jet engines. It's hard to believe that this was a real car, but it gets crazier. The two black tipped points on the front fender of the car was designed to hide a radar-based guidance system, not unlike GPS, that would interact with the smart roads of the future, which obviously didn't exist, and the car even featured a proximity warning system that would in theory alert the driver of potential obstacles. Meet the 1962 Pop 50, the smallest car in the world in 1962. That is, look, it still counts. Measuring 106.1 inches long and with only 3 wheels, this car was officially deemed the world's smallest car when it debuted in 1962. Though the record is now held by a car almost half that length, proving that designers are all about impracticality. The P50 seats one person barely, and the vehicle may well weight less than the actual driver, coming in at only 130 pounds. In fact, drivers were known to be able to pull the car along with one hand, which, given that it only hit speeds of 28 miles per hour, may prove to be faster than if you drove it. The car stopped being produced in 1969 but has since been reborn, thanks to funding from BBC investment show Dragon's Den, who invested enough in the project to bring the P50 back to our roads. I'm sure we'll be grateful when a driver decides to take his car for a walk in rush hour. Number 6. 1961 Amphicar. I think you all know what an Amphicar is going to be, right? It's a car and a boat, and apparently it's not particularly good at either. While most designers in the 1960s were focused on designing ultra-sleek vehicles that looked like they could fly, some were busy experimenting with cars that could both sink and survive, kind of. In 1961, Hans Trappel publicly launched his pride and joy at the New York Auto Show. Too much public enthusiasm. The sleek 60s design, coupled with the promise of James Bond type underwater adventures, were enough to make anybody excited. Unfortunately, the excitement faded and it came to making it a reality. Make no mistake, the Amphicar was not a cheap gadget. To operate the vehicle, 2 insurance policies were required, one as a car and one as a boat, making it a pretty costly effort for a car that is by all accounts pretty mediocre after a single use in the water. The vehicle required significant greasing, including the removal of a whole seat. That's a lot of work for a glorified dinghy. While it's a pretty strange creation, the Amphicar has its supporters. Us President Lyndon Johnson had one of the vehicles and was a big fan of driving it around the pond on his ranch, mostly as a way of testing new staffers and their courage. Number 5. Mercedes-Benz FO15. It's easy to look back on the past and laugh at their ridiculous idea of what future cars would look like, but we're not exactly all that advanced ourselves, as you can see from the F015, or to give it its full name, Luxury in Motion. You just know this one's gonna be rough. In 2015, Mercedes-Benz unveiled their own view at the future with the FO15 Luxury in Motion, a pod-like vehicle that is designed not to be driven. This car in particular is intended to be self-driving and is made up of a lounge-like cabin of 4 rotating seats and extra indoor entertainment. It's basically a private jet for the road, a luxury put your feet up kind of ride that allows for complete relaxation without the stress of road rage, although there is a manual option if you particularly like road rage. Hey, sometimes you need to let it all out, you know. While it's an excellent idea, the F015 is nowhere near being a feasible creation. The biggest problem is that there's just no way to make a network of refueling stations that could sustain them, which makes the whole idea of the car pretty pointless. At least it looks nice, I guess. Number 4. General Motors Firebird 3. What was it with the 1960s and the cars that looked like spaceships? It seems just about everybody was looking to get in on the spaceship race in their own unique way, even if that meant designing fundamentally weird car like the GM Firebird, or as I call it, Space Kid. There's one for you Knight Rider fans. Sorry millennials, the Firebird 3 was built in 1958 and was particularly notable for the fact that it broke a whole lot of stylistic rules established by one of the most legendary General Motors. Designers Harley Earl. With basically no chrome and absolutely no parallel lines, the Firebird was a complete anomaly to the General Motors style, and that's precisely what made it appealing to the general public. Unsurprisingly, the Firebird 3 did not exactly become the must-have car of the 60s, but it definitely looked pretty great. This was not just a car but a modern twist on classic space-age vehicles. Number 3. The motorhome. The 1980s were filled with genius ideas, but we're going to ignore all of them in favor of one of the more interesting ones. Apparently someone was offered a choice between a motorhome and a boat and couldn't make a decision, resulting in a compromise both. That was surely how the motorhome came to be, unless some mad scientist found a way to actually breed a boat and a motorhome. The motorhome was created by taking the cab from a 4D series van and combining it with a 28-foot boat, creating a whole new monster of a hybrid. On land it drives like your standard RV. Only this one comes with the opportunity to pull up at the dock and just turn into a boat. Best of both worlds. Of course, the idea of a motorhome is so niche that only 21 of them exist in the world, which just goes to show how few people find themselves in need of a motorhome that can survive in water. The idea of combining two completely different vehicles isn't new, but nobody ever created a car quite like the motorhome. This is a whole new weird world and we're on board with it, although we're not sure which half. Number 2. 5 million Learjet limo. To spend $5 million on a plane that cannot fly may sound a little bit crazy, but don't worry, you're right, it is crazy and impractical. That's also part of the appeal, oddly enough, because what's the point of money if you're not willing to spend it on something that can't be used for its primary purpose? In 2018, designer Dan Harris publicly debuted the end result of 12 years of hard work, the Learjet limo, by repurposing the fuel age of a wingless Learjet into a groovy-looking street-legal limo. Harris believed that he could kickstart a whole new line of business, a private traveling nightclub. That's right. The outside of the limo says party time, but the inside also says party time in a different way. Obviously, all of this party time depends entirely on your budget. If you don't have $5 million lying around, you're probably going to have to get the bus. But while many will look at the limo and think it's tacky or silly, it's definitely a unique business model, and one that Harris turned into a franchise. Upside-down truck. We've all thought it trucks look great, but what if they were upside down? Well, dream no more, my friends. Mechanic Rick Sullivan made your fantasies come to life. Why did he do it, you may be asking? I have no idea, but I'm guessing he was pretty drunk when he came up with the idea. Over 6 months, Sullivan used his $6,000 budget to gather materials for his masterpiece, including a 1995 F-150 and a 1991 Ford Ranger. By placing the F-150 pickup body over the top of the 1991 Ford Ranger, Sullivan managed to construct a very unique and entirely street-legal upside-down vehicle. Again, we're not entirely sure why, but it's pretty apparent that the guy was very proud of it, and why not? It's definitely something you're going to notice, especially if you're a highway patrol officer looking for car accidents. Unsurprisingly, the upside-down truck is a particularly popular sight with those that happen to pass by, with Sullivan estimating somewhere around 1,000 photos of the car being taken every day, and if he ever gets bored with the car, he can just flip it over and it'll still look okay. Check out our other cool stuff showing up on the screen right now. See you next time.